On the 12th of April 2009, 13 people departed on what can only be described as a life-changing journey. This is their story and our experience of when Newcastle Christian Life Centre met Compassion Tanzania. After saying their goodbyes, they began their 12-hour journey through the night from Newcastle to Tanzania. There was of course room for some fun at Terminal 5 while we waited for check-in to open.
Oh Bonnie, that's awesome, man.
Do a cartwheel. Oh, look at it.
Oh, sniffing it up her nose? Oh, there she goes.
I've been alright, Flapjack.
Hello?
Hi, is that Brian?
No, you got the wrong number.
Oh, sorry, I've got a delivery of beef out the back, that's all. Brian, I'm losing you, Brian. Milkshake.
Some of us had other plans though. A few hours later, we finally boarded our flight and left for Tanzania.
How was the flight, mate?
8 hours straight, brilliant.
After flying all day, we finally land in Kilimanjaro Airport and travel to the hotel, our home for the next 8 days, and get some sleep, ready for our first day tomorrow in Arusha, Tanzania. The next day we're off to an early start and head out to visit the Compassion offices for Tanzania. As we're shown around, everything around us represents Christ and shows us the great value that is held up in these children's lives here in Tanzania. We met together with all of the Compassion staff for a morning devotion with praise and worship. What we didn't know was they had a little treat planned for us. So John thought, that doesn't look too hard. Let's have a go. And of course, that meant all of us. After a quick bite to eat with the children and some fun and photos, we set off across town to Compassion's second office.
See this building behind us? This is where Compassion Tanzania is going to be based in just, I think, over a month. They're actually going to be combining this office here and the office we've seen back in the centre of town, and so they can all be in one place.
We were then introduced to each department, and as everyone introduced themselves and what they do within Compassion, we were overwhelmed by their commitment and love for these children. To finish the day, we had the privilege of spending our last hour here in the Country Director's heart for Compassion and the future. Dr. Emmanuel has now left Compassion and has a new sphere of influence as the International Director for Transworld Radio across the whole of Africa. We also met Joseph Mayala, who succeeds Dr. Emmanuel as the new Country Director for Compassion Tanzania. He and Dr. Emmanuel had this to say about what sponsoring children in Tanzania means to them.
The number of children needing help are vast, and it's a question of are there sponsors. So for us, each time we have one more sponsor or one more child sponsor, it means that opportunity to make a difference in childhood. So it's always a prayer item that more and more children will be taken into sponsorship.
The only thing I can say is just like during the devotion time when Pastor John Cook shared about you resourcing us and the country office also resourcing you in terms of prayers and support. But really what you are doing, it makes, it brings a greater transformation in terms of working hand in hand together in reaching the children who are in poverty.
The next day we visited one of Compassion's newer projects that had never had visitors before. We were really excited and were welcomed with Maasai dancing. We were introduced to all the children and then shown around the centre. Their generosity overwhelmed us, and despite having next to nothing, they presented us with gifts to show their appreciation. We then travelled to our first home visit of one of the sponsored children. This is Leah's home, John and Dee's sponsored child. We spent time and prayed with the family and received an extraordinary gift.
This is one of those times when you just haven't got a clue what to do really. The family have got nothing, but what they have they've given to me, and it would have been a real insult to say no, as much as I'd want to give 20 back to them. That's generosity. So yeah, it's been a very emotional day. I think you begin to understand in the West how privileged we are and how much I take for granted. And you know, I've used the phrase, there's not a lot we can do, but actually there is. There's so much more I can do, there's so much more that we as a church can do. And having 13 people come back with that same attitude, that will infect and affect other people within the life of the church as well.
That night, we were treated to some traditional food, dancing and entertainment. Stephen just couldn't resist a dance. The next few days saw us visiting our own sponsored children at each of the projects we visited. This was such an incredible experience, and words just can't describe it. On our second last day in Tanzania, we had the privilege to be taken on a safari into the Serengeti and saw some incredible sights throughout the day.
Used to before creation. Eternity.
Oh my word, that is absolutely spectacular.
You spoke the earth into motion. My soul now to stand.
On Tuesday the 21st of April, we said our final goodbyes. And once we flew into Amsterdam, We said goodbye to the Compassion UK staff who had served us non-stop throughout the week. I know that part of our hearts have been left with our children in Tanzania, and hope that a part of Tanzania has been placed in yours through sharing our experiences together. We can't do everything, but we must do something. Find out how you could meet the need and impact these and other children's lives by speaking to one of our Compassion representatives at the end of the service. Thank you.
For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever, oh, forever and ever, forever. Amen.